An Israeli mother was stabbed to death last night in a brutal terror attack. 39-year-old Daphna Mayor was murdered in the entrance to her home in the West Bank settlement Othniel, and her teenage daughter witnessed the attack. The assailant managed to escape the scene. Today, thousands of mourners attended Meir's funeral as she was laid to rest in Jerusalem.
Once again, a family is left to mourn whilst the community look on in frustration. A 15-year-old boy, a Palestinian, is arrested in connection with the stabbing. Having to show you funerals week after week is not a pleasant message, but whilst we've lost Dafna physically, we can only hope that spiritually she's sacrificed in the name of peace and love, but not war and horror. In the interest of unbiased reporting, we're showing you pictures of Jewish settlers taking Palestinian homes in what is an allegedly illegal act. These Israeli settlers believe that they have purchased the Palestinian homes entirely appropriately, but that is in question. Clearly, the government doesn't accept that fact, and therefore they must take action. Less than 24 hours later, the settlers are evacuated from these homes, which is an interesting use of a word, because in the West, when you occupy a property illegally, you're certainly not evacuated, you're thrown out of the property. But as things turned out, despite disagreements within the Israeli parliament, the settlers were evicted pending a thorough legal investigation. This week we're talking about honest reporting, or better still, unbiased reporting. So what view does the world's media take on Israel?
The story is, if you read between the lines, and if you read the lines themselves, the story is that Israel is faced with a clear moral choice and is making the wrong choice. Israel could have peace, but it chooses war. That story is false.
So what does the community have to say about the origins of bias reporting?
It originated on Facebook because we started seeing these horrific, twisted headlines being written by the LA Times, the New York Times, BBC, CNN, you name it. All the major media outlets, the way that they're portraying the current violence in Israel as being two-sided, and especially that they're trying to make it as if Israel is the aggressor, and the way that they word their headlines really puts Israel in a bad light.
But are the ABC and the big TV networks really that biased?
From Al Jazeera English to the BBC to Sky News, and it is true that each of those might have a slightly different outlook on the same issues.
And that was the opinion of a journalist. How about a Jewish journalist, David Horowitz of the Times of Israel?
I happen to think that international journalism has not served Israel and its profession terribly well in the last few years. In other words, if you look at last summer's war, when thousands of rockets and projectiles were fired at Israel, think back and see if you can remember how many rockets you actually saw being launched in Gaza. And the answer is one. There was only one rocket launch that was filmed by the combined multi-million-dollar Pulitzer Prize-winning might of international journalism, and it was filmed by one Indian television journalist out of his hotel window in Gaza City.
So we're witnessing something very, very unusual. This is a potential Hamas rocket launching site that's being set up. It establishes something which Hamas has always been accused of, that they actually use densely populated civilian areas to fire their rockets.
So that's the rocket being fired today morning in the immediate aftermath.
An Israeli abroad knocked out a Spaniard. I'm talking about, of course, Dudi Sela and his victory over Fernando Verdasco this week at the Australian Open.
Dudi Sela, congratulations on a big second-round win over Fernando Verdasco. What did this win mean to you?
I'm very happy. I did here third round last year, so many Jewish, many Israelis coming to watch me. I mean, it's a great atmosphere for me, and I don't want to let them down, and I'm happy I won today. I'm back in the third round, and I'm looking forward for my next match.
And whilst over the years we've seen many Greek, Italian and Slovakian tennis supporters come to the Australian Open, it's great to see Australians and Jews out supporting their own. A tragedy here in Melbourne this week when Lawrence Shamrakov died as a result of injuries sustained in a cycle accident just moments from where I'm sitting. He leaves behind him a wife who is pregnant with a daughter, and we are appealing this week for funds for her daughter's education. Several years ago, there was a great piece of shtick made called Punk Jews. It's an almost an hour-long movie. You can watch it on YouTube. Just look up Punk Jews. But I would just like to give you a taste of how relevant it is today.
Here's how you bring light into the world. You get up in the morning and you scream, God!
Today in New York City, there is a new movement of people expressing Judaism in unconventional and awesome ways. This is a community asserting their Jewish identity, defying the norm, and doing so at any cost. These are those stories. This is Punk Jews.
And what I love about this film is the fact that it can take religious Jews and say it's okay to be quite weird and way out there.
From Hasidic punk rockers to Jewish African-American activists, we cover badass politics, art, fashion, philosophy, and religion that you can't see anywhere else.
And from Punk Jews, here's a not-so-typical Jewish grandmother doing her thing.
All right already. I'll do my stick. Woo! I perform flowing feats of flexibility that few folks can achieve at any age. The Yoga Yenta is a character I created to celebrate my heritage through yoga.
Meet the amazing Amy, Yoga Yenta.
Mama always said, Amy, this yoga mishragosh of yours will make the mishpucha proud. I'm known as the amazing Amy, contortionist and unique yoga dancer.